Hey, Vincent here. So the last two videos I made were quite heavy, so I wanted to make a happier video, and that brought me to the topic of acting. Acting is a thing that ever since I tried it out in 2014 or 2015, it has been a constant thing in my life. And for the people who know me, it's not often that I find something that I stick with constantly because I get swept up in all these different things that I end up really loving, like writing, drawing, and all this kind of stuff. And acting has been one that when I found it, I just haven't stopped doing it. So what brought me to acting in the first place was I had my own game company and we were focusing on making games that were very story heavy, and we needed to have actors to bring our characters to life. But I had no idea how actors think and how they work, so what I decided to do is take an acting class to see, well, to get into the mind of an actor and to see how I would work with them. So I took my first acting class in what must have been 2014, and it was a Stanislavski-based class, Stanislavski-based technique, and I've just absolutely loved everything about it. Because if you look at my previous videos, you can see that I was kind of boxed in, trying not to draw any attention to myself. And in acting, that's the complete opposite that you have to do. You have a stage, you go to it, and you have to be present, and you're there to be seen. And weirdly enough, most people would think, oh, this is kind of scary, like doing this kind of stuff. But for me, it was liberating. Because, yes, you would be judged, but you yourself don't. Being on a stage and being able to get into characters' mindsets didn't just feel liberating to me to express myself in all these ways that I've never done before, but it also let me experience. So when you do a character, you kind of take on their experience, or that's how I do it anyway. I try to get into their shoes as much as I can. That means taking on their lived experiences, or what I think those characters' lived experiences are, and seeing how it influences all the behavior that that character does. So if someone has a tic, for example, it's like, where does that come from? Is it a tic from anxiety? And where does the anxiety come from? Did the character have a past where something bad happened? Or maybe a character doesn't have any of that and they're just confident. And you just, whatever the script gives you, you take it on, you become a new character for however long the scene is, and it's magical. To me, it's like, yes, it is play, but it's almost like I get to channel someone through me, and that way I manage to explore myself a lot more as well, because when I get to be all these different people, I can see, ooh, how do I feel when I do this? How do I feel when I do that? And I can take on what I like sometimes, or like even just contrast it with my own experiences. So for me, acting has been so helpful for my personal development. I think it might have been the biggest thing in my life that made me develop myself and made me become who I am today. So London was a fantastic place to get into acting because you have so many classes here. I mean, before the pandemic anyway, that taught you skills, techniques, and let you connect with other people. And the thing I really love about acting also is that you connect with the person who's in front of you, your scene partner. And it becomes that's when I think the magic happens, to me anyway. Because when there are two actors who are completely devoted to the craft, it's just something else. Like, for any actors who are watching this, if you've ever seen two people do the Meisner rep exercises, you know what I'm talking about. So the rep exercise is you have two people looking at each other, completely focused. They have to be present in the scene and just call out what they see in each other. And whatever is being called out, the other person has to acknowledge that. And I think that's where I became more aware and more observant at the same time. And not in a way where you think about what you're doing, but more like, oh, I am present. And yeah, this is something that I developed through acting and took outside of me, and it's been life-changing ever since. So I feel like I'm a lot more present ever since I started acting. That doesn't even begin to scratch the surface, because another thing for me when I moved to London is I didn't have much of a community. The acting family in London is incredible. So acting is probably the most saturated industry that I've ever been in. There's so many actors and there's barely enough roles for everyone to get anything. Nonetheless, Some of the kindest, most welcoming people who I've ever met have been in the acting industry. Most of the actors I've met through classes were fantastic, some of which I can call very close friends, and yeah, it kind of gave me a sense of community. Acting is something I absolutely don't regret, and if you even think about trying it out, go for it. So, as of the pandemic, it's mostly been through Zoom, even though it's a bit different, because obviously staring at a screen and being present with a person are completely different things. You can't replicate the same thing. At the same time, you still get to explore and express yourself, and that's just something I've loved and valued. If you want to hear any more about those acting experiences, or want to hear about things in detail, like the different techniques, like method acting and all these other things, or like even voice acting, let me know in the comments and I can make an episode about that. So the next video I wanted to make on how to improve masculinity, which is a big topic. Just how like men can improve in society in general, which I am part of. And I have gone through big changes. Yeah, let's make that the next video because there's a lot that I can talk about. Because yeah, I wasn't always perfect, and it's important to acknowledge that people can grow and change and to encourage that. But yeah, that's for the next video. Vincent, out.